You're standing there, and the accusation lands like a slap that leaves no mark. Maybe it's a co-worker in a meeting. You're always so difficult. Maybe it's a friend laughing too hard. Relax, you're so sensitive. Maybe it's a partner with that calm voice that means war. You never care about anyone but yourself. The room turns slightly. Eyes watch you. You feel the heat rise in your chest, and your instincts do what they were trained to do. Explain, clarify, prove, defend. Because you want to be seen as good, fair, innocent. You want the court to rule in your favor. So you start talking. You think clarity will save you, but every extra word becomes a rope they wrap around your throat. And here's the terrifying part. The more you defend yourself, the more you look guilty. Not because you are guilty, because defense is a status drop. The moment you defend, you accept a frame where they are the judge and you are the defendant. You are now arguing for your worth, your intentions, your character. You're begging for a verdict, and people can smell that. They don't even need to understand the details. They just register the hierarchy. One person is accusing, the other is pleading. Watch how it plays out. You give reasons. They give a smirk. You offer context. They say, "See, you're doing it again." You bring evidence. They attack your tone. Why are you getting so worked up? And suddenly, you're not discussing the original issue. You're trapped in a side quest where your emotions become the crime. You're explaining yourself deeper and deeper, like digging a hole to find air. This is why manipulators love accusations. Accusations force you to perform. They bait you into long speeches. They make you hand over your composure, your time, your dignity, just to be considered reasonable. And the second you chase reasonable, you lose power. Machiavelli understood this before psychology had words for it. Power isn't winning arguments. Power is controlling the frame the argument happens inside. If someone can drag you into their courtroom, they've already won the only battle that matters: who gets to define reality. So when you defend yourself, you don't just lose the moment, you train the people around you to attack you again. You teach them that accusations work. You teach them that your boundaries are negotiable if they press the right emotional buttons. You teach them that you will audition for approval. And maybe that's the hardest truth. You've been trained your whole life to beg for a verdict. Parents, teachers, bosses, lovers. So you learn to plead your case like survival depends on being understood. In this video, we're going to break that training. Not by staying silent like a coward, not by gray rocking your life into numbness, by replacing defense with something stronger, frame control, policy, and consequences. Because the moment you stop defending, the game changes, and most people don't know what to do when you refuse to enter the court. Most people think conflict is about facts. Who said what happened, what's fair. That's how normal people argue, imperfectly, emotionally, but still aiming for some version of truth. Manipulators don't argue like that. They aren't attacking your logic, they're hijacking the courtroom. The courtroom is the invisible structure underneath the conversation. Who is the judge, who is the defendant, and what must be proven to be accepted. The moment someone accuses you and you rush to defend, you accept their premise that you are on trial. You step onto their stage. You start answering questions you never agreed were legitimate. And once you do, the burden of proof is on you forever. You can spend hours explaining, clarifying, apologizing, and it will never be enough, because the goal was never clarity. The goal was control. This is why defense fails. Defense is a performance of uncertainty. It tells the room, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I need your approval, maybe you get to decide. And uncertainty is blood in the water. It invites more accusations because it signals the tactic works. People don't keep pressing buttons that do nothing. They keep pressing buttons that produce movement. Look at the 3 traps they use, because once you can name them, you stop falling into them. First, bait accusations. These are designed to force you into a long explanation and burn your authority. You're arrogant, you're too sensitive, you're selfish. Notice how these aren't concrete. They're character attacks. They're vague on purpose because vagueness is a trapdoor. If you defend, you'll start listing evidence like a lawyer. I'm not arrogant. I do this and this and this. And now you're auditioning. You're trying to persuade the jury that you're a good person. Meanwhile, they sit back and watch you scramble. And if you get emotional, they win twice. They paint you as unstable, and they position themselves as calm and reasonable. Second, moral traps. This is where they weaponize hurt. They don't say, I disagree. They say, you hurt me. Now you're not discussing reality. You're being coerced into emotional debt. The implication is that if you're a good person, you must overcompensate. You must explain more, apologize more, give more access. The trap isn't empathy. The trap is that your empathy is being used as a leash. You're made responsible for their emotional state, and the moment you accept that responsibility, they can control you by being hurt whenever they want. Third, social traps. These are public jabs meant to lower your rank while you fight to look nice. Someone laughs at you in a group. Someone makes a sly comment in a meeting. Someone throws a joke that frames you as awkward, needy, or incompetent. And your reflex is to repair it, laugh along, explain yourself, prove you're cool, prove you're not offended. But that scramble is the point. When you scramble, you look like you're beneath them. You look like you need the group's approval to survive. And once the group senses that, you become the easy target. Social hierarchies feed on the scent of neediness. Here's the psychological mechanism behind all three. Defending creates engagement. Engagement creates fuel. Fuel creates repetition. Every time you defend, you teach them the attack works. Every time you give a speech, you make their accusation more important than your time. Every time you try to be understood, you give them the power to misunderstand you on purpose. Machiavelli would put it bluntly, whoever defines the story holds the power. If you allow others to define you with accusations, you will spend your life reacting, and reaction is slavery. A prince does not live in reaction. He controls perception through consistency and consequence. He knows that the crowd is not a court of truth, it's a court of impressions. So stop aiming for the wrong victory. The goal is not to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. The goal is to become unavailable for prosecution, unavailable for courtroom games, unavailable for bait, unavailable for emotional debt. And once you understand that, the question becomes simple. If you don't defend, what do you do instead? Because silence alone isn't power. Power is what replaces the defense, frame control, policy, and consequences. That's what we're about to build. Here's Machiavelli's trick, and it's not magical, it's mechanical. It's how you flip power without raising your voice, without debating, without begging to be understood. You stop playing defense, and you start governing the interaction. That's the shift. Defense is reactive, governance is sovereign. There are three moves. They're simple enough to remember under pressure, and sharp enough to change the outcome immediately. Move 1. Refuse the premise. This is the hardest one, because it goes against everything you were trained to do. When someone accuses you, you're arrogant, you're selfish, you're too sensitive, your brain wants to correct the record, you want to prove you're not that person. But the accusation itself is the trap. It's an invitation into their courtroom. The moment you argue it, you validate it as a charge that deserves a trial. So instead, you treat it as what it really is, an opinion. Not a verdict, not a fact, not a moral diagnosis, an opinion. Your tone matters more than your words here. Calm, almost bored, short sentence, no emotion. Microscripts, that's your interpretation. You're entitled to that view. If you believe that, okay. Interesting. Noted. Notice what these do. They give no handles. They don't explain. They don't plead. They don't escalate. They don't invite a back and forth. They quietly deny the accuser the role of judge. Example. Someone says, "You always think you're right." The old you would say, "No, I don't. Here's why." and now you're trapped. The new you says, "That's how you see it," and then you move on. If they keep pushing, you repeat it once. Calm repetition is a wall. People can't argue with a wall. They can only reveal themselves by hitting it harder. Move 2. Replace defense with policy. A policy is not an argument. It's a rule of operation. It doesn't need agreement to exist. This is the moment you stop trying to be found innocent and start acting like a man who has standards. Microscripts. This is how I operate. That doesn't work for me. I'm not discussing this in that tone. We can talk when it's respectful. I'm not available for that. Policies are powerful because they shift the question from, "Am I guilty?" to "What happens next?" The courtroom collapses because you refuse to participate in proving your character. You're not defending your worth, you're stating your boundaries. And here's the upgrade most people miss: delay. Urgency is a leash. If someone can force you to respond immediately, they control your nervous system, they control the pace, they control the frame. So you introduce time like a weapon. Microscripts. I'll respond later. Not doing this right now. We'll talk another time. I'm stepping away. That one sentence breaks the spell. It tells your brain you don't have to solve everything in the heat of emotion. It tells them their bait didn't work. And it instantly upgrades your status because it signals you have something more important than this argument: your peace, your time, your direction. Move 3. Consequence without drama. This is where power becomes real. Because words alone are cheap. Anyone can say, "Don't disrespect me." The question is, what you do when they continue. Most people keep talking, they keep defending, they keep negotiating. And that teaches the other person a brutal lesson. Your boundaries are theater. Consequences are not revenge. Consequences are the price of access. If they keep pushing, you exit. You end the call. You leave the room. You stop replying. You reduce intimacy. You reduce availability. You stop giving them the privilege of your emotional energy. Selective access is Machiavellian because it's clean. It doesn't create a scene. It doesn't invite a debate. It simply changes the environment. Let's make it concrete. Teasing that turns disrespectful. Relax, it's just a joke. You respond calm. I don't like that kind of joke. If they repeat it, you don't argue. You stop engaging. You move away. You don't sit there trying to win their approval with laughter. You remove the audience from their performance. Passive aggression. Wow, you're really too busy for us now. You don't defend your schedule. You say, "Yeah, I've been focused." Then you continue. If they punish you with coldness, you don't chase warmth. You let them sit in their own tactic alone. Chasing is the reward. Calm indifference is the consequence. Smear attempts. Everyone thinks you're difficult. You don't plead your case. You say, "They're free to think that." If needed, you add, "I'll work with people who can communicate directly." Then you change the terms of access. Less proximity, more formality, more distance. Guilt trips. After everything I've done for you, you don't list your contributions. You don't argue about fairness. You say, "I hear you." Then, still no. That's it. No speech. No courtroom. This is the doctrine. You don't defend your character in a moment. You demonstrate your character over time. You don't argue with accusations. You govern the interaction with policies and consequences. You refuse to be prosecuted. But I'll warn you now, because this is where the weak turn back. The moment you stop defending yourself, some people will escalate, not because you became worse, but because you became harder to control. They were feeding on your explanations. They were living off your emotional labor. When you cut that supply, they panic. They get louder. They get crueler. They recruit others. They call you cold. They try one last push to drag you back into the courtroom. And that's the moment you'll find out who was confused and who was controlling you. Here's the final level most people never reach. The moment you stop defending yourself, you stop auditioning for approval. And that single change turns your life into a filter. People don't stay the same around you. They reveal themselves. Some will adapt. They'll speak more clearly. They'll drop the cheap jabs. They'll handle you with more respect because they realize you don't move the way you used to. Those people weren't your enemies. They were just operating on the old rules you trained them to expect. Others will escalate. The accusations get sharper. The guilt trips get louder. The smears get social. They'll call you arrogant, cold, hard to talk to. They'll try to recruit the group, not because they suddenly care about truth, but because they lost control. And that escalation is the confession. It tells you what their real goal was the whole time. Not understanding, not resolution, submission. This is why Machiavelli's worldview matters. Reliance makes you controllable. If you rely on being liked, anyone can threaten you with disapproval. If you rely on being understood, anyone can misunderstand you on purpose and keep you trapped, explaining. If you rely on harmony, anyone can create tension and watch you panic. But self-possession makes you immune, because you stop treating other people's moods like a steering wheel. The old version of you thought reputation was built in the moment. One accusation, one awkward interaction, one misunderstanding, and you'd rush to fix it with words. But words are cheap, and the wrong people will always twist them. Your real reputation is built through consistent behavior over time. Calm standards, repeatable boundaries, predictable consequences. When you live like that, you don't need to convince the courtroom. Reality becomes your defense attorney. And here's the paradox. When you stop defending yourself, your silence starts doing the defending for you. Because silence signals certainty. Silence signals you don't need permission. Silence forces the other person to carry the weight of their own accusations without your emotional labor propping them up. Some people will hate you for that. Good, let them. Hatred is often just the sound of a lost lever. So remember the rule. Never defend your character to people who benefit from questioning it. Govern yourself. Let time prove you. Let consequences educate them. Because the world doesn't respect the person who begs to be understood. It respects the person who can stand in misunderstanding and still keep their spine. In the next video, I'll show you how to respond to insults with one sentence, how to punish disrespect calmly, without anger, without drama, and without ever entering their courtroom again.